You know, sometimes it feels like people forget that prehistoric horseshoe crabs actually did try different strategies, it just never worked out. Sure, 445 million years ago, real OGs like the Lunataspis look almost exactly the same, but people overlook that some species actually lived in freshwater habitats. A whole bunch of horseshoe crabs would go on to do the exact same thing. A good example is Mesolemulus from the Jurassic period. Actually, there's a specimen that dove in a little too deep into his lagoon and got wasted by excess salt water, which is kind of crazy knowing where its descendants ended up. Unfortunately, mass extinctions would take out a lot of these freshwater horseshoe crabs, but imagine how legendary of a pull it would be to get a horseshoe crab from a backyard pond or something. But enough with the subtle changes, there were horseshoe crabs like Australolemulus who really thought they were the main character and had their changes go to the extreme. It had a much wider head shield, a shorter body, and a very long tail. But as you can tell, its body couldn't adapt to changes in nature's plot like serious climate change. Another victim of the plot was Vader Lemulus, who had a much wider head shield too. And it might have been its downfall too, because imagine we find out one day that its shell receptors didn't track light all that well, or maybe it was just a much heavier build and it didn't move as fast. So in the end, horseshoe crabs did try to make some changes, and it's not like they were doing it any slower because their genes mutate just as fast as other creatures. But every time they tried to innovate, they got humbled so fast they had to go back to the original build. And they can't risk it because they're defending against 1,000 enemies, from sharks to crocodiles to crabs, other OGs so frustrated they couldn't make a perfect build like them.